Finally, a trip with no stress and no drama. That was the caption my sister Nicole posted 10 minutes ago. I stared at the photo of my parents raising champagne flutes in front of the Eiffel Tower, smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, I was lying alone in the ICU at Mount Sinai, hooked up to machines and terrified. They hadn't just left me behind. They were celebrating it. The drama they were so happy to escape was me, fighting for my life. Before I tell you how I used that photo to bankrupt them while lying in a hospital bed, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. The door to my room flew open, hitting the stopper with a loud crack. It wasn't a nurse. It was Sarah, my best friend and the only person I had listed as an emergency contact. She looked like she had run all the way from her law firm, her blazer wrinkled and her eyes wide with terror. She didn't say hello. She just marched to the bed and grabbed my hand, squeezing it hard enough to ground me back in reality. I tried them, she said, her voice tight. I called your dad, your mom, even Nicole. Straight to voicemail. I think they blocked my number too. I closed my eyes. They're on vacation, Sarah. They said no drama. You're in the ICU, Madison. That qualifies as an exception to the no drama rule. Before we could spiral, the room grew colder. A neurosurgeon walked in, holding a tablet like a death warrant. He didn't waste time with bedside manner. He showed me the scan, a white mass pressing against my frontal lobe. A tumor. Massive. Aggressive. And it had to come out now. Then came the second blow, harder than the first. We need to operate immediately to relieve the intracranial pressure, the doctor said, his voice flat. But there's an administrative issue. Your health insurance lapsed 3 months ago. The policyholder stopped paying the premiums. My dad was the policyholder. To proceed, the doctor continued, we need a deposit. $125,000. The room spun. $125,000. He might as well have asked for $1 billion. I started to hyperventilate. I tried to explain that we didn't have money, that my family was struggling, that we were barely holding on. My father had drilled that script into my head for 4 years. We are a team, Madison. We are broke. We all have to sacrifice. I remembered the night I got into NYU. My father sat me down at the kitchen table, looking weary and broken. He held my hand and told me the business had failed, that the accounts were empty. He cried. He actually cried. He told me that if I wanted this degree, I had to earn every cent myself, because they couldn't give me a dime without losing the house. So I obeyed. That was the price of being in the family. I took the night shift at a diner. I coded freelance projects until my eyes burned and my fingers cramped. I skipped meals. I lived in a closet-sized room with no heat. I did it because I thought I was saving us. I thought my suffering was the rent I had to pay to be a good daughter. I don't have it, I whispered to the doctor. We're destitute. Sarah didn't say a word. She just handed me her phone. Look, it was Nicole's Instagram story again. A new video, posted 5 minutes ago. She was in a hotel suite that looked like a palace. She was holding a large orange box. I watched, numb, as she untied the ribbon and pulled out a Hermes Birkin bag. Unboxing my baby, she squealed at the camera. Thank you, Daddy. Best graduation present ever. The bag cost $20,000. The suite cost $5,000 a night. The champagne on the table was vintage Dom. The air left my lungs. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was clarity. Hot, sharp, violent clarity. They weren't broke. They had never been broke. The poverty was a lie invented to turn me into a workhorse, while they funneled every spare dollar into Nicole's fantasy life. My tuition, my health insurance, my surgery. It wasn't missing. It was right there, hanging on my sister's arm in Paris. I looked at Sarah. The tears stopped. They have the money, I said, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. They just didn't want to spend it on me. The silence in the room was broken by the sound of heavy footsteps. A man stood in the doorway, leaning on a cane, but looking like he was ready to tear the building down with his bare hands. Grandpa Richard. He wasn't the cookie-baking type of grandfather. He was a retired corporate litigator who communicated mostly in grunts and legal threats. But when he saw me hooked up to the monitors, pale as a sheet, his expression cracked. He walked over, ignored the chair, and stood over me like a guard dog. Who did this? He asked. His voice was low, dangerous. It's a tumor, Grandpa, I said weakly. And I can't pay for the surgery. Dad said we're broke. Richard didn't look at me. He looked at Sarah. Broke? I sent Timothy $185,000 3 years ago. It was a UTMA trust, specifically for Madison's education and medical emergencies. The number hung in the air. 185,000. He told me the business failed, I whispered. He said the accounts were zeroed out. The business didn't fail. He liquidated it to buy a condo in Miami, Richard said, his face turning a terrifying shade of red. And that trust fund? He didn't have legal access to it for personal use. If that money is gone, he didn't spend it. He embezzled it. He pulled out his phone. He didn't call the police. He didn't scream. He opened his banking app. Timothy has been flashing that black card all over Europe, Richard said, his thumb hovering over the screen. He thinks he's a big shot. He forgets that he's just an authorized user on my account. I watched, mesmerized, as Richard navigated to the Manage Cards tab. He found the card labeled Timothy. Supplementary. He's at L'Ambroisie right now, Richard noted, looking at the pending transaction notification. A 3-star Michelin restaurant. The bill is €4,000. He tapped a single button. Lock card. Let's see him talk his way out of that, Richard muttered. It took less than 2 minutes. My phone on the bedside table lit up. It was Dad. Richard nodded at me. Answer it. Put it on speaker. I tapped the green icon. The background noise was chaotic. Dishes clattering, angry French voices, and my mother hissing in the background. Do something, Timothy. They're looking at us. Madison. My father's voice barked through the speaker. There was no hello. No, are you okay? Just panic masked as aggression. You need to call the bank. There's a glitch on the card. It's being declined. I have a waiter standing here waiting for payment. I'm in the hospital, Dad, I said. I have a brain tumor. I don't have time for your hypochondria, he snapped. I have a €4,000 tab and the card isn't working. Fix it. Call Grandpa. Tell him to authorize the charge. Now. He didn't ask if I was dying. He asked me to fix his credit limit so he didn't have to wash dishes in Paris. Grandpa Richard leaned over the phone. He didn't speak yet. He just signaled for Sarah to take over. He wanted them desperate. He wanted them cornered. And I realized, as I listened to my father sweat over a declined card while I lay dying, that the man on the phone wasn't a parent. He was a parasite. And we were about to cut off the host. Sarah picked up the phone. She looked at me, her eyes hard and focused, then glanced at Grandpa Richard. He gave a single, sharp nod. The trap was primed. Sarah hit the speaker button. Her voice transformed instantly. Gone was the sharp, confident law student who had just threatened to sue the hospital. In her place was a terrified, weeping girl, her voice trembling with hysteria. Mr. Parker? She sobbed into the receiver. It's Sarah. Madison. She's unresponsive. The doctors are taking her in right now. I don't care about the doctors, Timothy screamed, his voice cracking with stress. I have a maitre d' threatening to call the gendarmerie. Fix the damn card. I can't fix the card, Sarah stammered, masterfully playing the part. But, Madison said something, before she lost consciousness. She knew you were stuck. She told me to release the emergency trust. The line went silent for a split second. The background noise of clinking silverware and angry French chatter seemed to fade. What trust? Timothy asked, his voice dropping an octave. The aggression was instantly replaced by a predatory sharpness. Grandpa Richard sent a separate fund. Sarah lied, the words spilling out fast and desperate. $200,000. It was supposed to be for funeral costs if the surgery failed. But Madison wants you to have it now. She said you need to get home. It was the ultimate moral test. A good father would have asked about the funeral. A good father would have asked why his daughter was talking about dying. Timothy didn't ask. 200,000? He choked out. I could practically hear the calculations running in his head, the greed overriding the panic. Is it liquid? Can I access it immediately? Yes, Sarah said. I have the transfer link right here. It's a DocuSign release. You just have to authorize the deposit. Send it, he barked. Send it to my email. Now. I watched Sarah's thumbs fly across her screen. She wasn't sending a transfer. She was sending a document we had drafted 10 minutes ago with the hospital's legal team. It was formatted to look exactly like his banking app's interface. The header read, Immediate Funds Release. $200,000 in bold, comforting blue letters. But the text block beneath it, the fine print that required scrolling, was a binding promissory note. By signing, he wasn't receiving money. He was accepting full personal liability for my $125,000 surgery deposit and acknowledging the previous $185,000 theft as a personal debt, secured by a lien on his primary residence. Sent, Sarah whispered. I'm refreshing, Timothy snapped. I heard my mother in the background, her voice shrill. Is it enough? Can we pay for the hotel too? Shut up, Natalie. I'm handling it, Timothy yelled away from the phone. Then, Back to us. Okay. I see it. Quick release. Good. You have to scroll to the bottom and click I agree, Sarah instructed, her voice trembling with fake anxiety. Please hurry, Mr. Parker. The Wi-Fi in the hospital is spotty. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I held my breath. The heart monitor beside me beeped steadily, counting down the seconds of his financial life. He was in a loud restaurant, embarrassed, panicked, and dazzled by the promise of free money. He wouldn't read. He never read. He was the kind of man who signed terms and conditions without a glance, because he believed he was too smart to be tricked. It's asking for a signature, he grunted. Just draw it with your finger, Sarah said. 3 seconds later, a distinct ping echoed from Sarah's laptop on the tray table. A green notification bar slid across the screen. Document executed. Done, Timothy yelled. Where's the money? The waiter is back. Sarah looked at me. A cold, satisfied smile touched her lips. She didn't hang up. She just muted the line. He signed, she said to Grandpa Richard. He just put the house up as collateral for your brain surgery. I closed my eyes, letting the relief wash over me. He thought he had just hit the jackpot. He didn't know he had just signed his own eviction notice. The victory lasted exactly 90 seconds. That was how long it took for the confirmation email to hit my father's inbox in Paris. Sarah showed me her screen first. The document was legally binding, time-stamped, and geotagged. Timothy Parker had not only assumed full responsibility for my medical bills, but he had also unknowingly confessed to the embezzlement of my trust fund by acknowledging it as a pre-existing personal debt attached to the lien. We had him. We had the money for the surgery. And we had the leverage to destroy him. Then, the screaming started. You little witch! Timothy's voice tore through the speakerphone, so loud it distorted. What is this? I just got an alert from the mortgage lender. Why is there a lien on my house? It's called a guarantee. Dad, I said, my voice gaining a fraction of strength. You signed it. You're paying for my surgery. And you're paying back every cent you stole from Grandpa. I'm not paying for anything, he shrieked. I'll sue you. I'll sue the hospital. Cancel it. Undo it right now. I can't undo it, Sarah said calmly. It's filed. If you try to fight it, you'll be arrested for fraud before your flight lands. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of a predator calculating a new angle. I should have known better than to think a contract would stop him. Narcissists don't feel shame. They feel threatened, and when they feel threatened, they don't retreat. They scorch the earth. Fine, Timothy said. His voice was suddenly terrifyingly calm. I'm the guarantor? That means I'm the one calling the shots on the medical care, doesn't it? The line went dead. What does he mean? Sarah asked, her brow furrowing. Before I could answer, the door to my room swung open again. This time, it wasn't a doctor. It was the hospital administrator. A woman in a severe gray suit, looking apologetic but firm. Behind her were 2 orderlies pushing a transport gurney. I'm sorry, the administrator told the neurosurgeon as he checked my IVs. You need to stop prepping. We have a stop work order. The surgeon froze. She's going into the OR in 20 minutes. Not anymore, she said, refusing to meet my eyes. We received a directive from the patient's legal guardian and financial guarantor, Mr. Timothy Parker. She lifted a clipboard. He issued a medical transfer order due to financial hardship. He's arranged an immediate transfer from Mount Sinai to City General. Sarah shot to her feet, blocking the bed. City General is underfunded. You can't move her, she has a brain tumor. He has the legal right, the administrator said quietly. He's the proxy. I understood the real reason immediately. This wasn't about saving me. It was accounting. If downgrading my care protected his house, my life became an acceptable expense. I turned to the surgeon, fighting panic. If I move, will I survive? His jaw tightened. She's unstable. Transport is extremely dangerous. Tell him, Sarah snapped. We have him on the line, the administrator said, placing a conference phone on the tray. Mr. Parker, the medical team advises against transfer. The risk is extremely high. Timothy's voice came through calm and detached. That's a risk we have to take. Move her. Now. The surgeon leaned in, controlled but furious. If she dies during transfer, that responsibility is yours. Do you accept liability? I accept, Timothy said too fast, already irritated. Just get her out. The surgeon tried one last angle. Is there any medical reason you believe surgery shouldn't happen? Timothy hesitated, then invented one. Yes. She had a severe accident at 10. Traumatic brain injury. Her brain is fragile. Surgery is too risky. She needs conservative management. My stomach dropped. It was a lie crafted to sabotage my treatment and justify the transfer. Sarah's voice went tight with shock as she recorded. He just lied on a recorded medical line. Then Grandpa Richard stepped forward and spoke into the phone like a courtroom verdict. Timothy, this is your father. Madison was with me on her 10th birthday. There was no accident, no injury. Richard turned to the surgeon. He's fabricating a history to deny life-saving care. You just heard it. The surgeon's expression hardened. That's patient endangerment. Proxy is unfit. Timothy erupted through the speaker until Richard calmly produced the final weapon. An emergency trust clause removing Timothy's authority for malicious action. Then he delivered the consequence even colder. Liens accelerated, the house seized, passports flagged for investigation. I don't have a son, Richard said quietly. I have a thief who tried to sacrifice his granddaughter. He ended the call. The surgeon didn't hesitate. Prep the OR. We're saving her. Hours later, I woke up alive. Sarah slept beside me. Grandpa Richard sat by the window, waiting. Welcome back, kid. The rest collapsed exactly as Richard promised. Assets liquidated, investigations triggered, excuses exposed. Nicole tried to spin it online. Sarah posted receipts